Hey, folks, thanks for tuning in again to the brand new show on Facebook, The Bobby Bowen Show. And I have really been excited and I've learned a lot from people that I have interviewed. And this guy that I'm going to introduce to you now has become a really close friend of mine. And unlike most of the people I interview, he doesn't have a gospel music past, but he does have a past. And his
Yep.
name is Tony Ray Jones. Tony, how you doing this today?
Hey, Bobby. Awesome, man. Thank you for asking me to do this. I've watched a few of those episodes and you're really good at this.
I don't know if
Without
I
a script, without a script.
Well, I don't know how good I am, but I know the people that I've interviewed have just made it so much better. If I
It's
didn't have
been good. Yeah.
if
It's
I didn't have
interesting.
them, I would, I'd be lost. I'd be up here rambling around. But everybody's been really good. They've been gracious to be able to just kind of open up and tell their life story. And so
Yeah.
I want to kind of do that with you, not having a
Okay.
gospel music past. Just want to go back, tell everybody where you were born, and if you want to talk, if you want to say when, then they can figure out how old you are, like everybody else. But
Yeah.
actually, you're not that much older than me.
Not
But
really, no.
you've had kind of a rough past,
Yes,
and
I have.
I really believe that a lot of these testimonies and stories about how God has brought people from where they thought they were going to go, but it was always His plan. And so I just want you to go
Absolutely.
back and just kind of start from the beginning. We'll work our way up to present day and see what's going on with you.
Okay. Well, I was born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and 1957. So that goes back a ways.
At the
But
time, Elvis was getting hot.
yeah, and my dad was in the audio body work. He worked on cars and stuff. He did that his whole life. Anyway, when I was 18 months old, they moved to Mobile, Alabama. Actually, 8 Mile, then, which is real close to
Yeah.
Mobile. But anyway, I grew up in Mobile, Alabama, on the Gulf Coast, which was I had a great childhood. I mean, I had the typical, dad came home at 6 o'clock. But, you know, my dad always liked music, and country music was all he liked. He liked jitterbug stuff, but that wasn't really, back then, that was rock and roll, Jerry
Yeah.
Lee Lewis and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But he loved country music. And when I was 12 years old, my dad comes in from a pawn shop, a little bit tipsy, and had bought an electric guitar and an Alamo amplifier. I wish I had those. They're probably worth some money today.
Probably so.
And he came in the next morning. He says, because I have two brothers and a sister, and we all three, all of us live, three of us in one room. That was three
Oh,
brothers,
wow.
all of us in one room. So Dad comes in and, all right, I want y'all to learn how to play this, and I want to hear some Johnny Cash. So Johnny Cash had that live show. Hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
Yep.
Remember Sunday nights, I believe it was. So
Yeah.
I started picking it up. My brothers picked it up. Paul, Larry picked it up, but they didn't take it as far as I did. And when I picked up that guitar, I always say, if it wasn't for my dad bringing that guitar home, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing for 38 years.
Well, let me
And so,
guess. Let me guess. The
yeah,
first, talking about Johnny Cash and him
yeah,
saying, learn to play Johnny Cash.
yep.
I can almost guess that the first thing that you learned was down, 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 down. Was that
I,
it?
yes, and I'm gonna get Teddy to give me this. I'm gonna show you something here, Bobby. This is really cool.
Folsom Prison
My,
Blues.
that was my first influence was Johnny Cash, and
Yep.
that's where it all started. And with that record, well, she's looking for it, but I'll show it to you. But anyway, so my Johnny Cash, I'd get it out and I'd try to learn that, that Luther Perkins lick.
Yep.
And it's got Johnny on the front. No, that's not it. Anyway, we'll find it. But anyway, so that was the seed that started out. Little did I know, because I was in the baseball. I wanted to be a baseball star. That
Huh.
was my goal, because I had that natural ability, and I was in all stars all the way up till I was 17 years old. I was in what they call varsity
Yeah.
league. And so my coach, Mr. McKnight from Mobile, Alabama, he's still living, bless his heart, one of my biggest influences that helped me. And my dad used to catch, and I was a pitcher. And so that's what I wanted to do with my life. And then 18 years old, I bought my own guitar, I started playing it, and I was like, man, I like this a lot more than I do baseball, because I'd play parties in the neighborhood, and it just kind of started, So
Yeah.
Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, Marty Robbins, one of my huge influence, because I do impersonations, is Roger Miller. And
Oh, yeah.
Roger Miller was just, I mean, man, he just mesmerized me of what he could do.
Did you do Dang Me? Did you do
Oh
that?
yeah.
That little thing he does on Dang Me?
Hanging from the highest tree. Woman, would you wait for me?
How's that other part go?
Yeah. Beep, 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 beep.
That's it.
So my dad loved that. So that's what I did. And so as time went on, I was really not really a lead singer. I just like to go and play with people, and I didn't sing that much then, But I would be in my room, a little reel-to-reel player. Back then we had those little portable reel-to-reels. Remember those?
Oh, yeah.
So I would record myself and listen back to it. And that's kind of, looking back on that, I didn't know I'd ever own a recording studio or even be in the recording business. But you just never know when you hand a kid a guitar or something recorded, what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You never know where that's gonna go. So I just took it all away. So when I was 12 years old, even while I was playing baseball, I told my mom and dad, I said, I'm gonna go to Nashville, and I'm gonna be a country star, and I'm gonna play the Grand Ole Opry, and I'm gonna buy you and Daddy a Cadillac.
Wow.
I'm gonna think about. I mean, it sounds foolish,
No, a lot of people say that. A lot of people say that.
I was serious about it, and of course, I was raised in a Christian home, and we went to church, but we went to a Baptist church, and Mom tried. My dad, bless his heart, he got saved before he died. He was only 51 years old, but he never went to church.
Oh.
He never took us to church, and his excuse, he stayed home and he cooked breakfast every Sunday, grits, bacon, egg, all that hash brown.
Yeah.
That's kind of how he got out of it. And as a kid, we didn't realize, well, Dad's not going, well, Dad's staying home and making breakfast for you, and Mama's going to take you to church.
Yeah.
We didn't think nothing about it. And so I remember up till about 10 years old, I went to church. And after that, I don't remember ever, I remember it just being pretty boring as a kid,
Yeah, I mean,
and
that's a known stat that they've realized that when a dad doesn't take a family to church,
Yep.
9 times out of 10, the kids usually don't keep going to church.
Yeah, because
when they
my
get
dad,
older.
yeah, you're exactly right. My dad was my hero. Even though he drank, he was an alcoholic. He got through that. He got saved right before he died, thank the Lord, at my sister's house in Lucedale, Mississippi. And I talked to him and got to see him before he died. He had cancer. He didn't die of alcohol. He died of cancer at 51 years old. I'm 63 years old.
Wow.
So I look back at that and I go, wow, 51 years old. That's young.
That's pretty young, yeah.
So, but, I have to say this. My mom and dad encouraged me. I had great parents. I really did. I have no regrets. My parents, my mom and dad encouraged me to play music or play baseball. Tony Ray, whatever you want to do, son, we're going to help you.
Yeah.
So my dad bought that guitar. My mom encouraged me to learn and play. And my dad got to see me one time live in Mobile, Alabama at a club called, gosh, I can't remember that club. But anyway, but he heard me one time and he said, "You're pretty good, boy." That's all. And that's all he would say.
Yeah.
My dad was a hard man's man. He wouldn't compliment you or say, "I love you," or hug you. He'd go buy you a hamburger or go buy me a mini bike that I got for Christmas.
That's how he showed his love.
That's how, and you don't understand that as a kid, but when you get older, I still love my dad. I still miss him every single day. But, things that my dad instilled in me was to work hard, believe in yourself, be confident. And that's why when I look back at how I was raised, I'm a leader, not a follower. I just take it on, I learn it, I do it, and I don't gripe about it. And
Yeah.
so that's the way my dad was. He would do it. Boy, stop crying, get after it, you
Yeah.
know. And so that's how I was raised. And my mom, so I was encouraged to play music, and my mom still living. She lives in Mobile, Alabama. She's 83. She's doing well. And to this day, I probably call her 3 times a week, and I've been using Zoom like this to talk to her during all this virus mess. But she still encourages me today in my music. What you got going on in the studio? And so I played, Bobby, on the road like you have, but I played, you know, dives and joints for 25 years. I was on the road.
Yeah.
I started playing 2 years out of high school with a couple of bands, and then Lions Carol Band was one of the first bands, but I was a side pro. I played banjo and acoustic guitar, electric rhythm. And I never sang. I sang one song because it really wasn't, I hadn't matured as a singer. I didn't know what I wanted to do, how I wanted to sound.
Yeah.
And so I just backed up bands for a little while, and until I just got confident enough to start doing single acts at Gulf Shores. And I did a single act, and I would hire, then I had a duo, then I put a band together. So it kind of evolved.
Yeah.
And so when I moved, my mom got married to my stepdad. He was from Texas. And so when he heard me sing, he says, you need to move to Texas. You can make a great living. They're going to love what you do. So when I moved to Texas in the 80s, I bought an RV, old Coleman RV, 32 foot, hit the road. He got me a manager and agents, and I started working I worked 7 years in Texas and never left the state. I made more money, met more people. It was all dance halls and clubs. You know, you played a lot of shuffles, played a lot of Texas style music, but I loved it.
Where did you move? Where did you go to Texas? Where'd you move?
We went to, actually, it's a little bitty town called Wheelock, and it's spelled like Wheelock, Texas. It's right outside of Bryan College Station off Tabor Road.
Okay.
So I played College Station. I played Navasota. I played one of my favorite places to play that a lot of people, my friends, are going to love this when I say it because they're on Facebook. A lot of my Texas friends from Center, Texas, a little place called JR's.
Been to Center, yeah.
Yep. And a lot of people from there. I love playing Center, Texas. There's some awesome people. And I still talk to those people today. They know my life's changed, and I don't do that anymore. I don't play those clubs anymore. But I'm still in the music business, you know.
Yeah.
And so Texas really opened my eyes to build confidence that I thought I was good enough, you know, to do it, you know. And so when my stepdad passed away, I think I moved back to Nashville in 2003. But I don't know if you have any more questions, but I was going to tell you how I got to Nashville.
Oh, I got lots of questions.
Well, you ask me a question because I'm rambling.
No, that's okay. You've told me some stories because we've been out to eat, and I've recorded some stuff with you, and we've hung out. We used to go to church together, so I've known you a few years, and I know a lot of your stories. So you left Texas to move to Nashville to kind of broaden your horizons with your music, and so you came in 2003. You said.
Yeah, well, what happened, that was the second time. I'll tell you what happened with that. And I was still in Texas, but I got in my motorhome and I wanted to come to Nashville. This was 1989.
Oh, wow. That's when I moved here, man.
Okay.
1989, yeah.
That was the best time to be here. That's why I remember you guys with Mid-South, because I saw on TNN.
That's when country music was exploding. I mean, it was Garth had just come out, and it was big, you know.
Man. It was the best time to be in Nashville. I just had it. I said, look, I want to go to Nashville. I'm just going to go and spend the week there. I want to check it out. And get this, when I drove in Riley Parkway, I pulled into the Fiddler's Inn. Okay, the Fiddler's Inn back then had an RV park. Not all those Texas Troubadour, none of that stuff was there.
Yeah.
So it was in April. And so it was snowing. It was 4 inches on the ground. So I pulled in there.
Wow.
And get this. So I'm checking Nashville out. You know, I didn't know where to go. So I'm in the Opryland area back when Opryland was there, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
For 25 or 23 years. So I passed the Opry, and I see this sign. It says Opryland auditions. And I go, I ain't gonna do that. That's gonna be really hokey. You know, I've seen some of that Opryland stuff. You know, it's kind of
the shows they had there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm in the real music business. I don't want to go do that park stuff. You know, I kind of shunned at it. But what happened? So another day passed, and I said, and it's gonna go. I'll go try and do that. So I just took my acoustic guitar. I went in. I signed up, and a lot of my friends have done this that I've talked to that been here that did those auditions in different places. But I did it here. So I go in. They ask my name. They called me up, and it was like 6 judges, and it was all in just a bare room. I had acoustic guitar, no microphone, nothing. They said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I'm living in Texas, traveling on the road. I'm just going to do you some impersonations, some things I do on the road." And they said, "Okay, well, go ahead." Bam, I did them. It was about 2 or 3 minutes. They said, "Stop." And I said, "Okay." They didn't like it. They say, "Stop. We want you to come in this other room. We want to video you." And so they videoed me, and I went in there and did the same thing. And they said, Brian Odom, I'll never get it. He was the guy that hired me. He said, we want to hire you for the Opryland Park and the Showboat, either one, the General Jackson. And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, that's the kind of stuff we like. They like over there. It's, entertaining."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, I'm in Texas." He says, "Well, we're going to send you a confirmation letter." Back then, no internet. Back then,
oh yeah,
I had to send the letter. And so I get this letter. I go back, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. I'll probably, I don't know if I'm going to do that or not." So when I got that letter, and I still have it in my files today, and said, "We'd like to hire you for Opryland. If you would like to join us, please send us a letter confirmation back, and you will start in May of the following year," which was 90.
Yeah.
So I said yes, and I moved, and that's how I got to Nashville. I bought a house in East Nashville, and I lived 3 or 4 miles from Opryland Park.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got to Nashville, and it was really freaking. I look back on it, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. All the really good things that happened to me, I learned so much from working at Opryland. I worked there 5 years. I worked the hotel. I had a duo. I worked as a single, a duo, and put a band together in the picking parlor, played all those little venues in the hotel for I think it was like 6 years, up to 97 when they closed.
Yeah.
The park closed.
Oh yeah. It was a sad day around here.
I had a job and I had insurance. As a musician, I didn't have to go play Music Row or Broadway. I didn't have to do any of that. And I always say, getting rid of Opryland was the worst decision they ever made.
I agree.
My son was 2 years old. I'd take him there. But that's how I got to Nashville. And then I moved away for a short time. Because in 1994, okay, so I moved here in 1994, some incidents happened with my first wife, and we were living. So anyway, I go to jail, okay? I went to jail. I'm not ashamed. I am ashamed of it, but look.
Did you beat her? Did you beat on her or something?
No, I didn't do it. No, I didn't do that. Didn't hit her. And it was all confrontational anyway. It was a rough marriage. I was married 5 years. I have a son. He's 28 years old now, lives in New York, Winston. And it just didn't work out. I had an agenda, and I was kind of like, I was going to do everything I could to get a record deal, and I was focused, and I didn't want anybody, I was probably egotistical at the time, looking back on it, about myself. You know, I was just pushing to try to get a record deal, and I probably wasn't as good as I thought I was. Matter of fact, I know I wasn't as good as I thought I was. I found out.
Come on now.
So anyway, so what happened? Confrontation came. I go to jail. You know, so I'm sitting in a jail cell in Davidson County, and a lot of people don't know this, but and this is really revealing. But it really doesn't bother me now because it changed my life. So I'm in jail waiting, and the judge talked to me, and he said, "Mr. Jones, you don't seem like a man that would do something." I was like, "Well, we're going to have to let you go because you didn't do nothing but verbally, express what you were going to do. You know, you said some things." And I said, "Yeah, you're right. I'm wrong. We both were wrong, but she did the same thing, not putting blame, but we're both to blame." So they let me out. Okay. Bobby, this is February the 21st, 1994, 11:30 at night. I remember it, never will forget it. I'm walking out, this little kid named Jason Vickers and his girlfriend, I can't remember her name, went to Trevecca College. And they said, we were in the room. Now this is like 10 o'clock or so at night. They were in there hearing me give my testimony of why I'm in jail and the judge at night court. Yeah. And he says, "Mr. Jones, we heard your whole thing." He said, "You just didn't look like the kind of person that should be here." And I said, "Well, you're right. I made a mistake and, nothing happened, so I'm getting out." He says, "Well, we would like to introduce you to somebody that probably could help you." And I said, What are you talking about?" And he said, "His name is Jesus Christ." And I said, "Oh man, come on." I'm like, I wasn't the most accepting. My sister was a Christian and I knew about it, but I didn't want to be preached to, and he didn't. And I look back on that kid, he's probably 20 years old. He was pretty brave to come down to jail. God sent them. I mean, I think about the timing of that when he came. So I'm walking out. They took the handcuffs off me. I go by this payphone, and I called my good friend and partner that played bass with me at the hotel, Greg Davis. I called Greg. I said, "Greg, I'm in jail. They let me out." He said, "T, what happened?" And I said, "I'll tell you, just come get me." And so he's on his way. While he's on his way, I get off the phone there, and you go in there, Davidson County Jail, you see that phone. It's probably, it was a payphone, probably not there.
It's probably not there now.
Probably not there. So Jason led me to the Lord, and I repeated after him. And I said, "Well, I'll go ahead and give this a try." I said, "I don't have anything to lose, I'll just go ahead and give it." He said, "Well, Miss Jones, you just repeat after me." And I did the Lord's Prayer. I did the salvation prayer. Yeah. And buddy, let me tell you something. I tell people all the time, you don't even know what you're getting into, but when you say yes, God takes over from there. Yeah. When you're a newbie Christian, he'll cover you. You don't have to be perfect. And I was way a ways from perfect, so, but here's how I know. The next morning I wake up, and I had an agent and a manager in Nashville, Marv Dennis. And I called him, and I had bookings. I had bookings all over the place. I said, "Marv, I can't do this anymore." I said, "I became a Christian yesterday, and I'm done with the music business." I mean, cut and dry. Man. Probably stupid. I probably made the wrong decision, but that's how convicted I was. I could not go back in, and I was drinking, I was drinking, and
something must have really changed you.
It did.
When you said that prayer, I mean.
It did. And I didn't think nothing of the prayer. It just goes to show you, little faith as a mustard seed. Right. And I just thought, well, this won't hurt. Mm-hmm. So when I went home and told my wife at the time, she was happy, but also she didn't actually change. Like, I was radically changed. Yeah. And I completely quit everything. And, because I was radically changed, I probably made some wrong decisions. I probably didn't have to get out of the music business, but I really did. because
Yeah.
I couldn't go back into those bars. I couldn't drink. I couldn't be around those people that did that kind of thing. Not that they're bad people, you know, but I just felt like that. And my sister was just elated. She just shouted when I called her and told her that she'd been praying for me. And her and my brother-in-law, Joel. And so they kind of mentored me and helped me in the word. I didn't know anything. I thought Job was Job.
Yeah.
You know, well, we're going to turn to the
You
book
know,
of Job.
Tony, that was around the time that, you know, I was with Mid-South
Yeah,
at that time, and Christian country was just really starting to blossom, you know,
absolutely.
but you didn't know anything about that kind of
Had
music.
no clue.
You could
Not
have
at all.
started singing that style and singing, you know,
I
Christian
could
music,
have.
country style, like we were doing.
Exactly. I didn't know it was the wrong timing for me because I needed to get in the word
Yeah.
and get grounded, and I needed to be. So I quit music. I completely quit. I didn't play my guitar for 2 years.
Wow.
I said, I'm done. I said, and my sister said, and you've heard this, when people get saved, they're in music, they want to instantly take you and put you into evangelism.
Right.
Okay, nothing wrong with that, but that wasn't my calling, and I found that out. I did after some time passed, but 1998, I moved back to Mobile, Alabama, 1998, and hooked up with a ministry, and they actually just took me in, called International Gospel Outreach. This was after I moved from Nashville. I moved back to Mobile. Anyway, it's still there, and it's on Ward's Lane in Sims, Alabama. And they took me in. I actually went to my sister's ranch to get refuge because they had a kids ranch, a ministry
Mm-hmm.
in Lucedale, Mississippi. And so James Graham, at the time, he's the president of the ministry now, and I still talk to him all the time. He said, what do you do? And I told him I just got saved and all this. He says, well, we have a ministry called International Gospel Outreach, and we send missionaries all over the world, and we could use somebody like you with your music ability. And I did audio and that kind of stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they took me in and sent me to Bible college.
Huh.
So
Wow.
I spent 2 years of Bible college and World International Ministry, and then missionary school. I went through that, and I was the armor bearer for the president, Burtis Rouse. And I traveled and so they would get me. This is why when I started to sing again,
Yeah.
they would say, well, Tony, we'd like you to come up and sing a couple of songs, give your testimony. That's how it started.
Yeah.
So I felt like, well, maybe, you know, I didn't know what having a ministry meant. Didn't really care about that because I had an office there at the ministry, and I had, you know, I would record stuff and do all the videoing for the school. And so I would sing, give my testimony, and then people kept asking me to come to their church and give their testimony and sing.
Hmm.
So I did, just like you've done forever. I went in, I didn't know anything about a love offering, and I said, Pastor Leo, I can't think of his name, in North City, Illinois, asked me to come, and he knew I did in person. Yeah, get this. I'm sitting in the audience, so Burtis speaks, I get up and do my little thing, and I tell my testimony, very short version, and he says, he passed me, he said, Leo's pastor said, I want you to do that Willie Nelson impersonation, Ray Charles thing, 7 Spanish 8. I said, in the church?
Yeah.
He said, yeah, in the church? And so I did it, and people went crazy. I was like, this is not like any church I've ever been into.
Mm-mm.
You know, but it was a fun church. But this is really crazy. So, you know how we're going to take up a love offering for Tony. He's in the ministry, works for I Go, but, you know, they don't pay him his salary. He makes his money, but this is how he makes a living too.
Yeah.
And so we want to give him all. It was $1,500.
Wow.
And first service, the second service was more. I said, I got to do this twice. So I started thinking that maybe this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
But come to find out it wasn't. So I tested the waters with it. That was not what I took tracks. I did the whole thing. I loved it, and it was a ministry. And my ministry was called Serving in the Harvest Ministries, and that was ordained through International Gospel Outreach, which was a fellowship of pastors. I was ordained as a minister.
Hmm.
One of the reasons for that, so I could travel overseas. I went to Africa, went to Honduras, went to Zambia, all those places, and I did the video, and I actually preached one time over there, but I'm not a preacher. So I tried that, and I tried it for like a year. I was a worship leader at a church in Granite City, Illinois, Pastor Eddie Brown and Mary. So when I left IGO, that's where I went, and Pastor Eddie mentored me. I love him to death. He's still a great fellow. He calls me all the time to see how I'm doing. So I said all that. I know it's a long story, but it really brings me to where I'm at now. And I left Pastor Eddie, said, Pastor, I'm not meant to work on staff. I said, this is not who I am. I said, and this brings you to present day. I said, well, what do you think you want to do? I said, well, my buddy, Greg James, that I did sound for, I've done sound for him a little bit. He hired me to do sound and go on the road and do sound. So I did that for 5 years, traveling all over, and really made good money and learned a lot about audio.
Yeah.
And so 2003, I told him, I said, I got a chance to go back to Nashville because Greg wants to hire me. He's building an office in Nashville and wants me to be headed up for audio. We did live shows and that kind of thing. So I moved. Well, it never happened. It never happened. We never got the money. We never built it. I didn't know what I was going to do. So I started painting houses because I'm back in that 2003. So I didn't know what to do. So I painted houses for a while. And then I met my wife, which is sitting right over here, Patty. You know Patty.
Hey.
And
Patty.
so 2003.
She can show herself if she's got her makeup on.
She'll probably walk by. She may walk by.
She may not have her makeup on.
That's her.
There she is. Hey, Patty.
So I don't know how much time you got. I'm trying to go quick.
Oh, we're fine, man. This is a great story.
2003, Bobby, I didn't know what I was going to do because I was making really good money doing sound, and I didn't really want to date anybody. I was just single. I was a Christian then. I always tell people, you really don't know how to treat a girlfriend or a wife or how to be a man until you become a Christian and realize the values. You just don't know how to do it. That macho stuff, you just got to leave at the door.
Right.
And so I did. I was a changed person. I'm not The Old Man Is Dead. One of the first songs I learned was Dale Way, The Old Man Is Dead. Remember that?
Yep.
That's the first song I sang in church with a track.
Really?
And that song changed my life.
Yeah.
Dale Way, man, just like, it was country music. But I still didn't want to be in the ministry doing that because I see everybody, and nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't for me.
Right.
And I just said, and you know yourself, I'm so critical. And I'm not as critical anymore. I go into church and the sound systems sound terrible. And,
drives me crazy.
The music kind of hokey. It wasn't what I was used to in Texas and the Nashville stuff. It's gotten a lot better, but I wasn't critical. It's just, I don't want to do that. I said, God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I meet Patty, 2003. We started dating. We dated for what, a year or
It's almost exactly
1 year. 2005, I asked her to marry me at the Bluebird Cafe, and I was in the songwriting round there with some friends of mine, and I asked her to marry me in the Bluebird Cafe, and she said yes. And so get this now. It was, we got married in September. 1 month later, I fell off a roof because I was still painting houses to make a living. I fall off a roof in a house in East Nashville, shattered my entire foot. Couldn't walk, couldn't move, couldn't do anything, couldn't work. So we just get married and we bought this house where we are now, over here where the studio is. And so here I am 1 month into marriage and I can't work. Patty had to work 2 jobs. She did. She worked Home Depot and Vanderbilt.
Wow.
Anyway, so to move on, so I didn't know what I was going to do. So my good friend Randy Martin, that did your logo,
Right.
Randy comes over one day and says, "What you going to do, Tony Ray?" I said, "I don't know." And I look back at this. None of this studio stuff would have ever happened without Randy and Zan Martin, 2 of my dearest and talented people,
Yeah.
dear friends. He says, "Well, won't you start a studio?" I was like, I don't even know what to, I don't have a clue what to do equipment wise. And I don't know.
Studio work is quite a
I
bit different than just audio, like for a live concert. It's a lot more detail stuff.
Yeah. And I'm like, you got start a studio in Nashville? Really? With all the studios and the most talented people? I don't have a clue.
There's a
This
studio in just about every old house on Music Row. I mean, they're
Yeah.
everywhere.
I said, start a studio. He said, well, it don't have to be. He said, but so here's what he said. I said, he said, you find out what it would cost just to get a little system and all set up, and I'll pay for it.
Wow.
Well, he did. He did. It was $1,000. Now think about that. It was $1,000, and you know, you've been to the studio, but I
Yeah.
showed you where the old studio, that little area in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That's where it started. It's
Uh-huh.
on. It's on my website. Had a little desk, and you know, one microphone, Cubase, and a couple of. My pastor brings me a couple of Tannoy speakers.
Yeah.
This is, and I think back on this, as I was so naive about. I was like, well, I guess I could learn how to do this, you know. And so I had a couple of friends of mine that helped me set up the computer and the software, and I'm a Cubase user, not a Pro Tools user. So anyway, watching YouTube videos, this is 15 years ago, almost now.
Yeah.
2005, I started that little studio, and with my leg propped up, and you know, I couldn't walk. So I started. I said, guess I'll just try this. I had no income coming in, didn't have any insurance. And we had just bought this house out here on 4 acres where the studio is now. We just bought this house. But so I started the studio. I started singing just acoustic guitar and vocals, and I'd hire somebody to play a mandolin or a fiddle to come over. It's just a little room. It just started building, and I didn't know. I didn't really understand how to mix and produce. I didn't know any of that. And I just tell people that if you set your mind to do something, there's always a way to learn. And I'm the type of person that I'm in a room with a bunch of musicians and they're all pros. I'm not embarrassed to raise my hand and say, how does that work?
Yeah. Well,
So
that's how you
what I
learn.
did.
Yeah.
That's what I did. And I'm nowhere near where I'd like to be, you know, but I've grown. So I started that studio, it kept building. So phase 2 is that other room that you guys sing, you know, vocal booth.
Yeah.
Y'all sing. That was phase 2. And then the other room in the back was, you know, that was my control room. And then that booth in the back there was my vocal area. So 2017, me and Patty, I said, I really would like to try to do a full production studio where we could do drums, everything at one time, because I'd have to hire out and go to other studios, friends of mine, and pay them, come back in here and mix it. So we decided to take a huge venture. I really didn't want to do it. Patty says, we're going to do this. And if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't do it because I didn't have a clue what I was getting into. So you've seen the studio. We had it designed. Me and 2 other guys built the entire studio in our house. And 2017, we finished it. Did we finish in 2017? Somewhere around in there. Yeah. Had the grand opening. 3 days before the grand opening, the console that I had in here, Sony DMX 100, blew up, the motherboard.
Oh, no.
And so anyway, we had to get rid of all that gear and everything. So I replenished and had my own gear, bought a desk and redesigned it and everything. So up to this present date, from 2005 when I started, we're doing okay. You know, with all the studios in Nashville, there's a lot better producers. There's better, But the reason that I wanted to start this studio, not necessarily for the pros, because they're going to go probably to other studios anyway. I know you
Yeah.
came in, you did me a favor coming here.
No,
And
man.
I love that
No.
record that we did
I didn't
here.
do you no favor. You did me the favor. No,
But
I was going to tell everybody you were talking about where you're at right now. And
yeah,
for people that follow me and my family, if you've seen our video on YouTube or Facebook, the a
yeah,
cappella song that we do with my daughter
yeah,
singing, we
oh,
did it
yeah,
in his studio right there. Right behind him, there's the
yeah,
vocal booth back there, and that's where we did the video.
yeah,
Yeah,
right
right
over
back
in,
there. Yep.
yep.
And we
And
also, if you've heard our CD, Rise Again, that we recorded, an old Dallas Home song from back in the mid-'70s, we recorded it right in there.
yep,
So,
you sure did. And that a cappella song is one of my favorite. That really came out great.
yeah, it did. That's a
That
lot of
was,
people's favorites.
that's a great song. And, but like I said, I started it because when I went and recorded my first record, I did it at Hank Cochran's studio in Goodlettsville.
Mm-hmm.
Cost me $25,000, and I had two investors. And it's really not me. It had a lot of reverb, how it was
Yeah.
in the 80s.
Oh,
I did
yeah.
my,
Swimming in reverb.
yeah. And so, but I didn't know anything about the music business of recording. It's a whole nother day. I was an artist and an entertainer, and I was a front guy, and I was confident in that because I could go out in front of any audience, and I figured I could do a good show,
Mm-hmm.
and I did it for a long time. But when I got saved, it took all of that desire of me getting all the attention and the pat on the back totally away.
Yeah.
I had no desire to ever entertain ever again. None. Now, people say, oh, well, that's bad. You got a talent. You should use it. And so what I decided to do, instead of, every now and then, and me and you talked about this before in our life group, we would talk about, man, I don't know why people won't support us. We're still can sing, and
Yeah.
we still, travel and do music and everything. It's just hard to get people to support you. And I said, well, I've kind of done all that. I spent 25 years on the road doing that. I didn't make it. So I got to find another way to do something, but still stay in the music business.
Yeah.
So that's why the studio thing came about. And be honest with you, I didn't think that we would even last this long. But I go back to saying that the reason I started it is because I had so many questions about going into a studio and how the process worked, because I didn't really know anybody that I could just go ask, and not feel embarrassed about, man, could I come to your studio and you show me how everything's done? Nobody's going to do that.
Well,
A few of them will. John
a few, yeah.
John at Hilltop, I still use him sometimes.
Yeah.
But but it's I created it for people because we spend a lot of time teaching people about publishing, how to arrange a song. They don't know. They come in here and they trust you to be able to make that song make it something better than what they send you. And so we started doing a lot of stuff over the internet, and we fly tracks, and people don't know what flying tracks is. You can send something to another studio and never get out, which has been good for the coronavirus time that we're
great. Yeah.
But I don't, I had some things before all that hit, which was great. But anyway, so up to date where we are now, we're still here, we're still recording, and we're still encouraging people. And we don't really advertise a lot, just our Facebook page and our main website,
Yeah.
And so that's kind of.
I'll give you a plug because, like I said, we did two of our songs in the studio, and the rest of them I had done at my home studio here, and you mixed everything.
Yeah, we mixed the vocals.
Incredible job on everything. It sounds great. We've sold a lot of those CDs so far, and I'm very grateful for that. I think it's already paid for what it cost me to do it.
Yeah.
So but if there's anybody out there that you have, especially songwriters, if you have a song and you want to pitch it to somebody else and possibly get it recorded by, a bigger name group or whatever, talk to Tony, because he has the ability to take your song and make it something special. and he, and then you can pitch it to, any gospel group or country group, whatever your desire is. And it really helps to have a good sounding demo, don't it?
Yeah, it does. And I thank you for that, because that's what I try to do. And I just use my knowledge. I don't know everything, but I do. I think I've learned how to craft a song, intros, verses, choruses, and tags, signature tags, and all those things that they need for a song. And we get a lot of stuff like that. And that's what I enjoy. So, coming out of the ministry into this, and I've kind of just blossomed where I'm, what we were doing. And this is our ministry. We just don't put a ministry name on it.
Right.
Because as you know, in our house, we have signs we have crosses, and we have sayings, we have things. People, I think, I had somebody say, well, you should get one of those fish things and put on your door, let people know you're a Christian studio. I said, well, I think nothing wrong with that, but I said, I think they'll know it when they come here and work with us.
I think so too.
By our example. And that's what we
That's
try to do over here. And we're fair. We try to be fair. We don't try to be, we are. And we explain a lot of things to people. You've been in it a long time. You knew a lot of more stuff about the recording end, because you've recorded a lot more than I have. You've recorded a lot of good stuff.
I'm not knowledgeable about how to do it, the mixing and all that, but I've been in many studios and recorded, but it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, the process, and it's a lot to do.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm still not there. I'm still learning every single day, but
that's encouraging, because that just shows you that you're never too old to learn.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do this, but for now, Patty and I have kind of just let this thing ride and enjoy it. I enjoy what I do. I have enough of work to make a living. Can always have, but I'm just one person, and thank goodness for all the great musicians I can hire that make what I do better.
Yeah.
Because I play guitar and bass, and I can program drums, and I can do a live drummer over here too. But it's a lot to do. And I watched your video with Rick. He's one of the best. And actually, that's the church that I go to, is Three Oaks, and he does the sound at Three Oaks.
That's right. Yeah.
And so you told me to introduce myself to him, and I did. And of course, with all this fire stuff going on, I hadn't been able to talk to him, but he does the sound over there, and I picked his brain because he's a Cubase user too.
Yeah.
And as you know, not all churches sound great, but I'm going to tell you something. Three Oaks Church, when he's running the sound, is absolutely the best I've ever heard anywhere.
Yeah, he's awesome. He actually ran sound at Cornerstone.
Yeah.
Before I took it over, he quit, and he recommended me because I was off the road. And, I ran sound for for Mid-South, from stage.
Yeah.
And so he recommended me, and I took over the job for like 7 years. And he is awesome. Really
he's phenomenal. I wanted to pick his brain, and that we were supposed to get together because I wanted to see his studio, and man, just steal some ideas from him, because he's been doing this a lot longer than me. I did watch that video, and that was really interesting.
Yeah.
He's something else. But
he is.
I always say there's a place for everybody. Sometimes you don't know where you're going to end up. And Patty and I just took a leap of faith and built this studio in our home. And then, we really didn't know. We just trusted God that I said, God, we're going to build it. He said, build it, they'll come.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
But you do have to have some sort of gifting. The Bible says your gift will make room for you. And I was praying hard on that, because I was like, well, we're going to find out. Yeah. And so, as you know, as musicians, we all have down times like we do right now. Mm-hmm. But it really hasn't affected us too much, because we're homebodies anyway. Now, for you, it has, because you travel. Yeah. But thank God for the internet.
Oh man, it has been. People complain a lot about Facebook. I'm going to get off Facebook. It's just a bunch of junk and everything. And I'm sure the guy that invented Facebook, I don't know if he's a Christian or not, but but thank God that it's available during this
Yeah.
this quarantine and all, because I mean,
Yep.
just about everybody that weren't even on Facebook are on Facebook now doing their services,
Yeah.
church
I
services.
know. Everybody
And
watched our
I
service.
tell you,
Just
the gospel is being spread to more people probably than it ever has right now.
yeah, it is. And you know, there's probably a reason for that. We don't know what it is. But I'm telling you, I see people come on Facebook. I actually went live one time just to check on my friends, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, this show that you're doing right now is pretty insightful because when I watched the first one was Kent, was it Kent?
Well, actually,
Kent,
I did the first one, and then
you
Kent
did
was
the one.
actually my first guest. Yeah.
And I had talked to you. I remember when you were at the studio when we were recording, I said, I want to do a show like that to where it's called Live in the Studio. It's a podcast. We've been doing a podcast, but nobody wants to hear just the audio anymore. It's times have
Right.
changed.
Yeah.
But that's why I thought it was such a great idea that you're doing it like this, and then there's a way to do it. People can really find out insight. Now, a lot of things I said, when some people hear my testimony, they won't believe that because a lot of people don't even know. But I'm not ashamed to talk about it
Right.
because that's the truth. That's what happened, and I'm not
Well,
ashamed to
I
say I'm
mean,
a Christian.
my goal, one of my goals, besides just hearing history, people's background, funny
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
is to encourage people that are
yeah,
watching. They may be going through. There may be somebody watching right now that
yeah,
maybe they're playing in the clubs, and they're like, God, I know I need to be using my talent for you.
yeah,
And this can encourage them to see
yeah,
that you've already done that. You've been there and done that, and see where you are today. I mean, that's
yeah,
one of my goals, is to encourage people.
yeah. And you know, I heard Ricky Skaggs, not word for word, and what changed my mind. Now, I totally agree with that. Now, I had to quit and completely quit because I wasn't strong enough to stay in it.
Right.
I need to get grounded. I
Yeah.
heard Ricky Skaggs say one time, of course, he has his own record deal. He was with Warner Brothers, I believe, back in the 90s. And Ricky was always a hero of mine just because of his character. Even when I wasn't a Christian, I would listen to his interviews. I remember him saying one time, he says, now, he said, yeah, I'll go out and do my shows. He said, they kind of get on me a little bit because I start preaching. And he's
Mm-hmm.
right. He wasn't hired in a secular record deal to go out
To
and
go
preach. They
preach.
wanted
Right.
him to play
Yeah.
music. So he said, well, I decided to get out of my record deal and start my own record company, Skaggs Family Records, so I could do what I wanted to do. So
Right.
now he says you can't straddle the fence. He says you can't live in that secular world and live for God and be like the world.
Right.
And so I said, wow. But you can own a studio, you can still play country music and be a guitar player or a singer, whatever, if you're strong enough to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And you, to this day, I could go to a club and not have a problem to hear somebody sing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't drink, I don't do all that other stuff,
Right.
but I don't have a problem going into a club to hear somebody sing. I've done it.
Yeah.
People say, well, you're a Christian, you shouldn't do that. Well, I know my motives, and it's not a snare for me anymore. I'm strong enough for that because I'm focused now.
Yeah.
And that's not going to pull me in.
Right.
But I use my talent for God, for the little talent that I have that He gave me. I know it's from Him. And so I try to show that when people come. I try to, I don't preach to them, but I try to,
Just live the life in front of them.
I try to live it, and
Yeah.
by being fair with your business, what you charge, do
Right.
what you say you're going to do,
Mm-hmm.
get it done on time, work on it, stay in contact, persist to get the best you can. I'm not the best mixer, but I strive it every day to be better at that.
Right.
My
Yeah.
weakness is I strive to get better, and I'll find somebody that can help me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I couldn't go back to do what I'm doing, and I'm happier now. I get to stay at home. I hadn't had a drink since 1994. I
Yeah.
wasn't an alcoholic. I just drank socially,
Yeah.
but I partied a lot.
Right.
I did things that I would never even want to talk about.
Yeah.
And so we all done things, like that. But I'm a totally different person. I've been transformed. You can't go back.
No.
You just can't do it. And like I said, I don't like preaching to people, but I will tell them the truth if they ask me.
Well, that's what we're supposed to do.
You know, I don't shy away from talking to people about the Lord. You know,
Right.
Patty and I both, we do that all the time here in
Man,
the studio.
I love your story, man. I've heard you tell some stories, and there's a lot of funny things that happen to you. Of course,
Oh,
if you're on the road, weird things are going to happen, you know,
oh yeah,
always. But
yeah.
thanks, Tony, for giving
Oh,
your
man.
time. And I hope that I know that what you said today is going to encourage somebody out
I
there.
hope so.
And
I hope
thank
so.
you so much. And thanks, Patty, for letting
There's
Tony
Patty.
have this hour with me. And now
It's
y'all can go
awesome.
back and start working in the back of the yard again.
It's awesome, Bobby. I love this show you're doing. This is really cool, man. I think it's gonna take off.
I appreciate it. I guess the Lord just kind of laid it on my heart to
Yeah.
do something like this and just get people's testimonies out there, because a lot of times
Yeah.
people don't know what people have gone through.
Well, people love behind the scenes stories, like a lot of those stories that I listen to that you've had on there, you know, and everybody has a different story, and it all comes to light. You know, people are changed by testimony, by the word of your testimony. They're changed
Oh yeah.
because they know, if they know, like a lot of my friends are going to watch this, they're going to go, wow, I never knew that.
Yeah.
But now they're going to know. And yeah, I've been kind of wanting to give my testimony online for a long time, but I really never felt like I should do it.
Yeah.
So people always have questions. You know, you don't want to tell everything, but you want to tell enough of the truth that'll make somebody think about what they're doing.
Well, you know,
And
back in the old days, and some churches still do this, they used to have testimony time.
Yeah.
And it could get long. You know, I
do.
grew up in a Pentecostal church, Assembly of God church, and we'd have testimony service just about at least on Sunday nights and Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
And people would just get up and ramble, or say the same thing every time they'd stand up. But you know what? Testimonies were always encouraging and uplifting. People may be sitting out there and they're kind of feeling low and just feel like they don't know where they're going to get their next meal or their next paycheck from, you know, going through all this. And this kind of stuff is just really uplifting and encouraging.
And it is, because a lot of your interviews are about musicians, about what we do, and you know, we live a different life. We have to have faith, because we don't have income coming in like a regular job. We have to pay our own insurance.
Right.
You know, it's hard, but that's what we've chose to do, and we somehow, God gets us through every time. End of the month, to go, wow, another demo came in. Thank the Lord for that, you know.
Yeah. Well, if he has a calling on your life, you know, and you do that, what he's called you to do, he's not going to just let you sit out there and starve to death. He's going to take care of you.
Yeah, and he has, and Patty and I are blessed, and we're thankful. And during this time, we've been working out back. I know you saw the pictures. We've been working out back. We're going to be raising some chickens.
Awesome. I'm gonna come get me some eggs from you, man.
I'll bring y'all some eggs, and we won't have to rely on the supermarket. But that's something we want to do, kind of turn this place into it is a studio, but a kind of a homestead. We're kind of getting into that. It's just something that we kind of started during this, you know, all this virus stuff. But we've actually wanted to do it for a while. So we've been clearing land. So I hadn't been recording that much, and it's been a good break to let my ears rest for a while.
Yeah, sure.
Just to get away from music. I don't want to hear music. I don't want to play the radio.
Right.
I don't listen to the radio anyway. I want to get away from, I want to just hear crickets.
Hear nature. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hear the birds sing and crickets chirping and
But when this is all over, we definitely got to go out and eat, because we've been planning that forever.
That's right. Tony, we've been talking about your studio. So where can people find information about your studio?
If you go on the internet, just look up backwoodsrecordingstudio.com. You can find it. We're all over the internet, and then that'll link you to Facebook. We have a YouTube page. You know, we have a couple of different, it's on Facebook as well. If you go on Facebook,
Backwoods Studios.
Recordingstudio.com.
Recording Studios.
Yeah, backwoodsrecordingstudio.com, and they can find us there. And
Yeah.
and so
Well, I encourage people whoever's listening here, like I said, if you're a songwriter or you're just a local, regional band, like when I started out, we started out, my family, my sister, my brother-in-law, and my dad, a couple of friends, we just sang within like 100-mile radius of Texarkana, Arkansas.
Yeah.
And if you want to get a great recording, see Tony.
Hey, thank
He'll
you,
fix
Bobby.
you up. He'll make you sound good.
I appreciate you saying that. That means a lot to us.
Yeah,
And
I
thank
mean it, man.
you for having us on the show, man. This is so cool. I'm gonna kind of go back and watch some of these other ones, and then
Yeah, I
kind of.
encourage everybody watching to go back. And this is my 10th, so you'll have to
Wow.
watch the 9 before and watch this one, of course, and then watch the 9 before, because they're really, really interesting and insightful and just very encouraging. So thanks again, Tony. And I appreciate you. Love you. Miss you. Can't
Yeah,
wait to get together with you and Patty again and go out to eat. And
tell Becky, hey, we're gonna go out. We're gonna plan something. It's coming up summer.
we're going to do it, man. And it'll be our treat, too.
Oh, no.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks.
Bobby. Thanks
Love
a lot,
you too,
buddy.
man. God bless y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.